Okay, are we done? Anyone needs any more time? Okay, so let's build this program, people. So I'm going to take the Charm Pascal. Right, so okay, so I couldn't really start the recording at the beginning of the lesson, people. So let me quickly recap what we have done. So we talked about the if then else structure, right? So according to this flow chart, I told you this is to handle when the if condition, then there is a if condition, and when there are statements in the years as well as no path. So we copy this heading down, and we were copying this particular example as to indicate, or like as to understand how this if then else statement is working, right? So then I ask you to write the Pascal code for this particular flow chart. So I gave the question like this. So now we are going to build the question, or like build the program, and see how it's going to work, right? Okay, so here we go. Right, so let me zoom it into 200%, so it will be easier for you to see. So what we are going to do is, first we are going to give, like we are going to type the program word, program. It's a keyword that we always write in. And when I'm writing, the Charm Pascal is giving me like the begin and end help over here, so I take it. So after the program, you need to give a particular name for this. So I'm giving odd even as the program name, and I need these brackets. So inside these brackets, I have to put the word input, comma output. Right, so then now if you think about the flow chart that we are going to consider, right, inside the flow chart, we need to take a number from the user, and later we have to decide whether that number is an odd one or an even one. No problem, Udamya, even underscore odd num, that's okay. So like when you are like using a name, you can use any particular name according to the rules that we were talking about. So you have to start it from a letter, then rest of the characters are going to be letters, numbers, and the underscore. That's all. So as long as you are under that rules, your name, any name, can be considered as a correct one, right? And within brackets, input output must be there like that. Program keyword must be there before the program name, and the semicolon must be there at the end of that line. So after this, we have to introduce the variables. So here, if you think about the flow chart, you can see in the first input box, we have said input a number as x. So we must have a variable called x according to this program. And then in the second process, I have said divide x by 2 and then consider the remainder. So we have to have someone to hold the remainder once the x is divided by 2. So to do that, after the R, I take x to capture the use input. I take R to capture the remainder. So I take both these two things as integers as their type. So I'm done with introducing my two variables, right? So maybe we may need extra variables during the program. If so, we can come and define it over here. That doesn't matter. So in between the begin and end, then we have to write our algorithm. So we start the program, we define the variables, which is a must to the Pascal programs. Now we have to say, take a number from the user and consider it as x. That means assign that number, which is given by the user, to the x. So how we are going to collect a number, like how we are going to give a message to the user to make him provide a number to the program. So to do that, we have to show some message to him, right? Some meaningful message. So what I can do is I can simply use a write-ln, and inside that I can express a particular phrase saying like enter a number, right? So yes, Udame, that's correct. So then the user will provide a number over here. Then of course I have to assign that value, the user input value, into the variable x. To do that, I can use the read function, and within the brackets I can say x. So that means whatever the user is inputting must be assigned to the variable x. At the end of this statement, there should be a semicolon as well. So now I'm showing this message, and when this message is shown on the black screen, user will provide a particular value using the keyboard, and that value will be assigned to the x. Now, then I'm moving to the next process that I need to do. The next process is dividing x by 2 and getting the remainder. And we have to remember that we should tell to the program to remember what the remainder is, right? So that is why we have taken a variable called r. So we can assign the remainder to the r. That means program can remember that. So how we are going to take the remainder? That's the important question. Use like which technique allow us to divide x by 2 and take the remainder? There is a nice operator in your operator list which help you to take the remainder. Go through the operators that we have done and tell me what it is. Very good, Udamya. Dinelka, it's not the division operator, Dua. In the way that you have expressed, what will happen is x will be divided by 2 and that answer will be assigned to the r, Dua. So like if you provide 10, 10 will be divided by 2, so it is 5.0. It always give you a real value. And 5.0 will be assigned to the r according to your equation, Dua. Yes, Pehara, that's the particular operator. So we have an operator called mod. So what we can say is, we can say x mod 2, right? So this represents divide x by 2 and consider the remainder. So that means if you provide 10, 10 will be divided by 2. That means 5 is the answer and 0 is the remaining portion. So 0 will be generated by this x mod 2. But having just this statement will not help you to remember the remainder. So to remember the remainder, we have to say, assign this value. How we are going to assign it? Using the colon and an equal. So now it says divide x by 2, and using the mod, it will take the remainder, and that remainder will be assigned to the r. So I should have a semicolon at the end. Is that clear, everyone? Is that clear up to this point? Okay, great. So then, now comes the condition. Now, as we can see, this is a selection condition. Like from one particular path, it's going to move to the end. Right? Either from the yes path or from the no path, it's going to flow to the end. So now, the expression that we are going to use, or the structure that we are going to use, is if. So if, and we need if then else. So it is given by the Charm Pascal. I can easily use that. So if, what is going to be the condition? Now my remainder is at the variable r. So I can ask the question, if r equals 0, right? Yes, Udamya. So then what we are going to do, we are going to display even number. If it is yes, we are going to display even number. So that particular statement are going to be written over here, right? So write ln, then you can display even number, right? And if it is not an even number, that means you are going on the no path. So on the no path, you have to display odd number, right? So I'm not going to put semicolon over here. That's not how the structure works. So I take the copy of it. And here I'm going to display odd number. And since my if structure is going to end from this point, I'm going to put a semicolon over here. Is this clear, everyone? Is it clear? Okay, so let's run this and see. Here we are running. Yes, since we have to hold the screen, we have to use a read ln. That is not a part of the algorithm, people. It's just because the Charm Pascal is not holding the screen without a read ln. You should not use that as a part of the code. When you are writing the code, omit this particular read ln, then finish it. So here we are going to run it. Okay. So as you can see, they are asking for a number. So I am providing 10 and I press enter. Okay. My output did not hold. So I may need another read ln. So here we go. Run it. So asking a number, it is 10, press enter. So it shows even number, right? So 10 is an even number. If we run this again, and let's input an odd number and see whether it is working. I am providing 7, press enter. So it gives me odd number as the output. So it works quite fine in the way we have planned. Right? Okay, so people who have any mistakes, you can correct the things, and if you need to have any fillings in your program, it's time for you to fill it out. Okay, I'll give you some time to make the arrangements. So this is the program according to your question. Okay, anyone who got this correct? Okay, so do the changes and let me know when you are done, people. Okay, anyone who is copying from the screen? Okay, so can we move forward? Right. So moving to the next section. So we are coming to the nested if. Right. So when it comes to the nested if, it is talking about different number of if conditions that are being handled. Right. So look at the example that they have taken. I think we have done something similar, some similar flow chart regarding this, right? Something similar, but not the exactly same one as I guess. So if we clarify this particular flow chart, it starts and it takes a mark. They consider it as M, and it checks whether that M is larger than 75. If so, they are going to assign the letter A to the result, the variable. And if not, they checks whether the mark is larger than 65. That means definitely when it is coming on the no path, the M is definitely less than 75. That means 74, 73 kind of things. So from that, they are going to filter something larger than 65. So if they found something larger than 65, then they are going to assign B to the results. Again, if it is not satisfying, that means if this condition is false, it comes over here. And if it is false, it comes over here. And then it checks whether it is larger than 50, right? If so, the result is given the value C. Otherwise, it checks this condition. And then it assigns S. If it is true, it assigns S to the result. If not, that means the mark is lower than 35. F is given to the result. Then it will output the result after the selection is done. Then it ends. Right? So there are many different selections. right? So when you are writing a pseudocode, this is the way that they have written the pseudocode. And at your right hand side, there is the Pascal code as well. So nothing much is difference over here, right? It's like this variable declaration is not in the pseudocode. Other than that, input marks as M, they have written write ln to enter marks and read it to M. And the condition goes like this. It's the same condition that they are having over here. And A is assigned to the grade. So they have used assignment operator to assign a char value, which contains a 1 letter, to the variable called grade. So in this purpose, they have assigned M as the integer, grade as a char type of variable, right? So then else if is used, same as the pseudocode, and then the condition has given, so they move like that. The only difference is, since pseudocode is having end ifs for each and every if that they have started, here they don't have an end ifs. So instead of end ifs, they use a semicolon at the very end of the program to indicate whatever being started from here is ending from this particular point. Then they ask to write grade and equal sign on the screen, and in front of it, the value of the grade variable. So here, what they have used is else if. And why they have used else if? It is because this if is going to happen when this condition is false. So if it is false, it must come to the else. And on that else, there is something to be decided again. And if it is not this case, that means if you find another condition on the yes part of a if, right? That means when this is true, if you are still finding a condition, so it's going to be if inside another if, right? So it's going to be kind of this. So like first if will be found. So let's say, let's take the same example, m larger than or equals 75. Then if this is true, and on the yes part of it, if you are finding another condition, another fresh if is open. Then ask in the next condition, right? Even this is also called nested if. Naturally, like when it comes to the programming languages, like what I have written over here is the one which generally called nested if. These situations are called else ifs, right? But in your syllabus, the nested and the else if both are named as the nested ifs, right? So there can be two particular scenarios, right? Like this or like this. All right, people, is it clear, the nested concept? All right. So let's write the nested if. So write the heading nested if. Then you can write this statement. And then you may go to the example and draw the flow chart. And then we can write the Pascal code straight away. You don't need to write this annotation part. Let me clear it for you. Yeah, so write the highlighted part, then move to draw the flow chart, which is given here. Then we'll write. So let me know when you are done, people. When you are writing the example, the flow chart, it's better you write what it is all about and draw the flow chart as well. Yes, Chanuri, you need to draw the flow chart. Then you can go for the Pascal coding. Okay, are we done with the flowchart? Okay, one is done. How about others? I'll slowly move to the, no, since it is in the next page, I have to move it entirely. Anyone who is still drawing from the screen? Okay, so moving up, you only need to copy the Pascal code over here. Not the anyone else. Yeah, that's it. The recordings are there in the website. I'll show you how to access the website, right? You may remind it after we end the session. So I'll show you how to access it, Putha. So you can refer all the previous recordings. Okay, are we done, everyone? One is done. How about others? Is there anyone who is still copying from the screen? Okay, so moving forward, now you can see this particular code has different number of if conditions. That means different number of selections, and it's quite lengthy. and quite messy, right? Because it has many different conditions. And there is a statement called case, which we can use in such situations, and we can easily maintain that complex coding, or like some messy codings, into something neat, right? So see how they have used that case statement. So they are using the case statement for the very same flow chart, right? So this is how they have maintained it. So they have named this program as find grade. So it has input and output. And they have introduced the variables marks as an integer, grade as a char variable. So they ask for the mark from the user, and they read it to the variable marks. So here, this is how they have used the case statement. They use the word case, that is a keyword, and it should be in simple, people. Like, since this is like there are printing mistake in this book, all keywords must be in the simple. So case, and they have used marks. This is going to be the variable which we have defined here, and off is going to be a keyword again. All right, so that means in the case structure, consider the marks variable. So it's the marks variable that they are going to deal with. So see how the range is given, 0, 34. Now this means marks in between 0 up to 34, including both the numbers. If that range is there, then they have put a colon and say the grade variable should be given with the value W, right? So it acts very much same according to this, right? According to these two, actually this else part, right? And look at the next condition, 35.49. If the marks in between 35 and 49, they ask the value S to be assigned to the grade. And likewise, if the marks in between 50 to 64, the value C is given to the grade. If it is in between 60 to 74, the value B is given to the grade. And if it is in between 75 to 100, the value A is given to the grade. If none of these cases are presented, then it uses the else part to say the marks that is being input is an invalid one. That means if the user inputs minus value or something greater than 100, it's not going to belong in any kind of categories over here. So then it shows it is an invalid marks. So then the case statement is end by showing the end statement over here. Is that clear, people? Yes, everyone, is it clear? Okay. So they have used this if condition to satisfy or to determine whether the marks is larger than 0 and the marks are less than 100. If so, they are going to output the grade with the phrase grade is, and then they are going to show what's the value of the grade, which is assigned over these places, right? Then it will give you the output according to the user input. So that is how the case statement is used to handle different kinds of conditions, right? So you have to write this as the homework for this week, right? So have the heading like this right after the code that you have written using case statement when a variable has multiple conditions. So then you can copy this program. So we can start doing the repetition after doing some questions regarding the if once we meet next week. Okay, so remember the homework, people. First this heading, then this coding. You don't need to draw the flow chart because you have drawn it over here. So all I need you to do is like, this is one of the program that you have done. So after that, you have to show the same program can be written using case statement as well. Okay, so complete the homework, people. I'll see you on next week for the very same time to discuss more about the Pascal. Right, so thank you very much, everyone. Have a very nice weekend. I'll see you on next week for the very same time.